Libra, what's happening, guys? We got some things going down. And the Page of Swords, like the ultimate thing I'm getting from this Page of Swords isn't sneaking around, isn't, being, kind of contrived necessarily. Maybe doing a little bit of shadow work definitely comes into the play with this reading, maybe. But one of the biggest things I'm getting from this is getting more information. Okay, let's see why we need more information. Because of judgment. Alright, because there's a big thing coming up. Like I told you, like it's right now everything's peachy gravy and stuff, but there's something coming in that's going to be huge. And that judgment is a really big card. It's a card of transformation. Doing something different. Let's see why is judgment coming up? Because of the Four of Cups. Some of you guys may have been feeling that the relationship has kind of been dull, not very exciting, really boring. And I feel like maybe there was some sort of some sort of big change, big thing that came in to kind of pretty much revive the relationship, which is why the Page of Swords here. It's like, yes, you're starting from the beginning, your rebirth. It's a rebirthing situation. So you're coming into this with a new way of thinking, new way of doing things, and definitely open to information. So, information about your King of Swords. If this isn't you, this could be about information about yourself, right? If you guys are feeling more masculine, the King may be for you. If not, then you may be talking. This may be about the other person, okay? If you guys are feeling more feminine, this may be addressing the other person. So I'm going to read it as both. This could be you guys if you guys are really learning more about. Maybe this is why I'm talking about the shadow self. When I see the Seven of Swords, it's not necessarily talking about lies to me. It's not always deception. It's definitely scheming and planning something or doing something in secret. But I kind of feel like it doesn't really mean that you're doing something contrived or evil or bad. It just means that there's some things that you may not be talking to people about or discussing with other people, kind of keeping to yourself. So the King of Swords coming up, this may be about your truth, who you are. This could be that this is about your partner. Maybe this is about, your other half. Some of you guys may be very, very serious at this moment, but the focus of this reading has to do with the King of Swords. It could be you or your partner. Now, in the past, you had the Wheel of Fortune, really cool card. I love this card so much because it's a card of Jupiter, and this talks about new opportunity and new it's second chance at something. Very judgment energy, but not judgment. Judgment's more extreme and it's got Pluto energy in there. Wow. Judgment is more serendipitous and it's full of great luck, right? It's a change of luck usually. So if you had good luck like this last time, this time may be a little bit more difficult challenge versus like this may be a change of luck for like maybe you've had a little bit harder time with love. This situation is definitely showing this is a new luck in love, right? New luck in some different way. So definitely a new opportunity, change of luck in the situation regarding your relationship. Let's see what second chance came up for y'all Libras this time. Somebody maybe reconnected with their exes in the past, right? There's an opportunity to start anew. So let's see. Why do we have the Wheel of Fortune in the past here? Why is the Wheel of Fortune coming up in the past for Libra? Why is the Wheel of Fortune coming up? This chai tea is so good, guys. I just made some chai tea and it's delicious. Right, the Wheel of Fortune. Why is that coming up in the past for Libra? Why is that coming up in the past for Libra? Because of the Eight of Swords. Okay, so maybe you guys were not feeling necessarily that prepared. Something you guys maybe are feeling a little stuck in your thoughts, right? Kind of feel like there's nothing really that you can do, but a new opportunity came in and it opened your horizons, I feel like. So why were you guys feeling like you guys didn't have a lot of options? What's the biggest thing? Oh, because okay, maybe this has something to do with you guys seeing somebody or maybe being noticed, getting attention of some sort. You have the opportunity to to either have a lot of pride for your relationship, feel proud of the work that you've been putting in, because I feel like you guys may have been stuck in some place. And in the beginning, you were very proud of it, but then you kind of got stuck in it. And I feel like the situation that's coming back, most importantly, is this feeling of the opportunity to feel more prideful or feel more proud of your relationship. So why do we have the Emperor in the present? The Emperor can actually indicate here there may be some power struggles, or maybe somebody is trying to control the situation a little bit too much. Like they have a certain way of doing things, and they're not listening to someone else's points of views. Because the Knight of Swords coming up with the Emperor, I don't really necessarily like that combination. Someone that's willing to fight for what they necessarily stand by. They're not necessarily looking to kind of compromise in a sense sometimes. But the Emperor can mean this is an empowering moment for you, Libra. And you're definitely making sure that people get it. Like you're not taking, BS from people. You're standing your ground. You're being very masculine right now for some of you. Some of you guys, somebody may be just taking a lot of control and they're kind of bulldozing through, right? They're not necessarily trying to consider someone else's perspective. And Libra, I know sometimes we may not necessarily be the most considerate, but we always consider people. So it's really hard for me to see you guys not being considerate here, but there's so many Libras out there that, are the exception of the rule. So, there could be somebody that's just not trying to get something through, which is why maybe it's us that's, being the person that's not really, that's just kind of like, whatever, things are fine, and then getting more information. Seeking, just listening, being open. Some of you guys are just like, I'm done with the listening. I'm ready to be me. And the only way you know how to be you is by not considering anyone else's stuff. Could be that too, right? Because if we do a lot of consideration for other people, a lot of the times people take advantage of that consideration, and I feel like some of you guys are done with this. That's probably, I think that's literally the reason that I see maybe like some Libras coming out of consideration for others, because they're no longer, they're not being considered and not being looked at. So that kind of pendulum is swung to the side. You're like, what? I'm not listening to you. I'm not hearing what you have to say anymore. I'm ready to be who I am. And that's probably what you guys are doing there. Okay. The Emperor is coming up. Why do we have the Emperor coming up? Because of the Queen of Cups. Okay, so that's, again, passive energy, like I was saying. Somebody is very passive in the relationship while someone else is taking a lot of control. Let me see. Why is the Queen of Cups coming up for the Emperor? What is this trying to tell us about why the Emperor is coming up in the present? Because of the Five of Cups. Missing an opportunity. Alright. Some of you guys, this is legitimately, that could be two things. It could be that you guys you've missed out on an opportunity before, and you guys are, where you guys either have been more receptive, and you kind of like, I'm not missing an opportunity ever again. I'm just going to take control and do what I want to do. However, it can go another way. It can go that maybe there was a missed opportunity where you could have been more passive, and now you're letting someone else take control of the situation. All right? It's kind of moving very fast in a direction that maybe you have kind of no idea where it's going, or maybe you do, but you're no longer necessarily putting your foot down, taking control of everything, the energy. You're doing something because you're being more passive, because you've had an opportunity to do something or have something. There's something going on with the relationship. But you literally have the Queen of Cups and the Emperor. They're two very different things. Emperor takes control. He's the Mars card, and the Queen of Cups is very, very, very feminine. If not the most feminine out of all the cards. Besides in the High Priestess, which is coming up twice. Which was coming up. And I feel like with the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups coming up like this, they're pretty much, in my eyes, coming up twice, because they're both passive energies. So the reason why the Emperor is coming up is because maybe there was a time of, like, there was somebody that you loved, or someone that you have deep feelings for, and there may have been like a regret for something that had happened, something that, that caused you to lose something, and you just got the relationship back, which is why there's like this, my way or the highway, this gotta do it my way thing. Or determination to kind of go in a certain direction without considering someone else's point of view. I'm like so hooked on that because of the Knight of Swords. But it could also mean that too, it's not necessarily that you're not considering someone else, even though that's the characteristic of the Emperor. It could just be that there is some sort of like full steam ahead, tunnel visioning, like things are moving very fast sort of energy. Or perhaps it can indicate that there was somebody that was once very passive, now they're taking control. They're taking action. They're put in a position. I think they feel like they've lost something by being so passive in the past that they're now taking control. They're no longer just kind of, okay, well, before I was just kind of just being, and now I need to step it up, because at this point I've lost something. It could be you or somebody else. It could be the other person, because somebody's coming in really hot, and I think this is the same individual. Okay, but so despite all that, how you move forward from this, you have the Chariot. So things moving very well, very fast, but it's through balance and, consideration with, of yourself, of what your needs are, what your heart needs and what your mind needs. So, I kind of get this feeling of like, with the Chariot, there's definitely a lot of perseverance, a lot of like movement, a lot of things, moving fast and being very successful. But it does come with a balance thing, right? It comes with a condition of balancing. And that's what your balanced path of follow is, right? So you have an opportunity to be very successful, but I feel like one thing can't dominate the other. So we have an extreme of one area, and then we have an extreme of another. And the Emperor is an extreme of the masculine energy. Doing things, taking control, power, anything masculine, right? But then the feminine is passivity, nurturing, loving, taking care of somebody, and taking care of them, watching over them in that sense. But most importantly, not taking initiative, and that makes sense. Just kind of like being in a safe space, being soft, being gentle. So there's two extremes, and I don't know if there's a real balance. There was a loss for something to really bring back the relationship, bring back the focus of the relationship, because the fact that the cups are in this person's hand, to me, seems like they had to lose all their cups in order to notice that there's something very, very much more important in the whole mix, right? But typically the real meaning for the Five of Cups is like, you may have lost some things, but the relationship still remains. There's still something that connects you to. And regardless of the dynamic of who plays what role in which, I feel like there has to be a balance between both, where there's an opportunity for there to be some switching. So that's probably why Judgment is coming up. Somebody may need to balance the opportunity to take control and then not take control. It has to be a flipping on and off with that. A good give and take, not necessarily just one way all the time, because I don't think both parties can handle both, like either taking control all the time or being passive all the time. There has to be some sort of changing here and there, right? Someone has to give sometimes, someone has to take sometimes. So I kind of get the feeling with the Chariot and Justice that those two are the things that need to be balancing the most. Who plays the roles and when and why and how often, and who needs to switch and where. But I'm going to clarify the Knight of Swords, because the Knight of Swords is very vocal versus the Seven of Swords. It's like there's a lot of noise going on here with the Knight of Swords, but then the Seven of Swords is coming up like, okay, somebody either wants things to kind of keep it on the down low, kind of, okay. The Two of Cups is coming up with the Knight of Swords. Why is the Two of Cups coming up with the Knight of Swords? Because, the Knight of Swords could be so tunnel vision on the relationship that they don't notice anything else. Or keeping, they're vocalizing what things they have in common, or focusing on what they have in common. Using that as their driving force, as their fuel. I don't know why this camera does this. It's not focusing back. It's annoying. Okay, so it's just probably not going to go back. Sorry, guys. I'll show you guys the cards individually up close, since it's trying not to focus. But anyway, but it looks like somebody may be trying to make a relationship work then. Because this person still has a lot of love, regardless of things that may have went down that caused the relationship to kind of be strained a little bit. But there's a lot of love here, and I feel like this person's either stepping up to the plate to really make this connection work. Knight of Swords doesn't take no for an answer. He's like, well, we're gonna argue about this. It's Mercury, it's a Gemini. That, if you ever argue with Gemini, it's a grueling task, okay? So the Seven of Swords is coming up in the hopes and fears. Why do we have that coming up for us, y'all? Why is the Seven of Swords coming up as our hopes and fears? Why? Because of the Queen of Swords. Wow. The Queen of Swords. So the Queen of Swords is literally the companion of the King of Swords. And the King and Queen of Swords are considered, they're both considered the divorced couple. The couple of which they are separated. But they're both very perfect for each other. And the reason why is because they're both very logical. They're both very serious. And they both can understand each other's truths and accept each other's truths. So the cool thing too about the King and Queen of Swords is that they don't let their emotions dictate their relationship necessarily. I don't necessarily know why they're considered the divorced couple. Because to me, they wouldn't let their emotions get in the way for them to cause a relationship to fall apart like this. They're ready to cut some people off. They're ready to defend themselves and use the sword if they need to, right? That's their strengths is using their words, using the power of their words. And most importantly, detaching and being disconnected. But they're not necessarily disconnected. They can see the situation and look at it without getting involved emotionally. So, again, still don't know why they're considered the divorced couple. Then, yeah, they have a reputation for cutting folks. But, I mean, the thing is, it's like, they don't hate people. I don't ever see the King of Swords, King of Wands hating people. But they are definitely protective. They're warriors. They don't necessarily just take shit. And that's the thing. The Queen of Swords, King of Swords, they don't take shit. So, with the Seven of Swords coming up, I feel like there's maybe having to do with having a scheme or scheming to, or working towards being more, not honest, not necessarily yourself, but like, wanting to progress in a way, in privately or intimately. Some of you guys may be worried about somebody lying, maybe, which is why the Queen of Swords is there. It's like you're waiting to see this lie kind of come back to bite them in the ass. Why is the Queen of Swords? So yeah, because the Queen of Swords wouldn't come up with the Seven of Swords. The Queen of Swords never lies. Neither does the King of Swords. So why is the Queen of Swords coming up for the Seven of Swords in Libra's hopes and fears? Because of the Sun. So this has something to do with seeing something clearly. Not anything being a secret or with kept. Now, the fact that we have the Page of Swords, Seven of Swords, and the High Priestess does tell me that there's possibilities of lies or pockets or something's being kept a secret. But the situation seems like you want something to come to light. You want something to be seen or communicated and honestly. Like you want clear communicated conversation. And with the High Priestess coming out in the outcome like this, with the Seven of Swords, with the Page of Swords, it's like something's being kept a secret. Something's being withheld right now, or there's some things being kept quiet because there's not a lot of information. Everything isn't brought to light to them first. So I kind of feel like the situation, and not to mention this, the Sun is like bringing things out to light, but it's also the potential for great happiness. So I kind of feel like the situation, I think there's been a lot of talk, a lot of puffing your chest out, Libra, this reading, or maybe you guys have been making your boundaries very clear. And the only way for you to know the person respects your boundaries is if you step back from being the alpha and be more of the omega for a minute. Like being receptive to at least see how the relationship can go, but after already doing all the work. So I think the work has been done on your part, and now it's about seeing how it goes from there. That's where probably the sneaky part is in the Page of Swords. The Seven of Swords, doing something that's a secret. It's literally just not taking any more steps of making or correcting situations. not necessarily saying like let somebody mess up and then like write it down for them to, and like one day to finally explode in their face. But I kind of feel like in order for you to know if this relationship is the one that will definitely work together, one person has to stop fighting and let the situation kind of go. Give it a chance to see, put this, that's where the Seven of Swords is coming from with the risks and stuff. It may be that you have to kind of put yourself in a position to receive the information before you cut the bitch. You know what I mean? Or you cut the person out. Or you do something where you have to lay down your law very clearly, which is why your outcome is coming up as the High Priestess like this. Okay? So the High Priestess may be coming up because you have to just sit back, relax, and watch the show. Everything's going to be revealed to you, which is justice, right? Being Libra, seeing, like, literally, you have your card coming up as your own advice. And the only way for you to see something from another side is by not being the person that's being, that's taking up a lot of the show. You're the forefront, we already know that. But in order to relate, to understand, to see what you need to see, to understand the connection, to understand your partner, you have to step back. You can't be the focus all the time, right? And the High Priestess also talks about secrets and information being not necessarily withheld, but when it comes out, it comes out. But you also know something that the other person doesn't. So that's interesting. So let's see what's going on. But I feel like you're in a position to receive because you've done enough. Or maybe there's some things that need to be done. The High Priestess is something about you knowing something, passivity, receiving information, receiving knowledge, being open to knowledge. Yang is their card. So taking action is a thing. This is one hell of a weird reading, guys. I'm just going to put that out there. You got cards that indicate don't do something, and then you got cards that say do something. The Yang card is one of those cards that says it's time to take action. It's time to put effort towards something. Put action forth in some area. I'm going to see why is Yang coming out. Because of the King of Wands. So, it could be talking to a fire sign, Sagittarius, Sagittarius, Leo, or an Aries. Time for them to step up. Or this is about taking action and based off of, what you want to do. Being creative. Being authentic to what you feel. But the King of Wands is literally the Yang card in my eyes. Taking action. And the Emperor, the King of Wands, they kind of go hand in hand. They're very similar. They only do what they want to do. They have their own ways of doing it in a sense. But this person is like, this is like a really big thing about taking action right now. Taking action. I don't know if this is you guys to take action or this is a request or waiting for someone else to take action. But let's see. Surrender. Power surrender card. Why do we get this card here for Libra? Well, what card are we getting for Libra in addition to this reading? And you guys have surrender comparisons with other people. Oh my goodness. Keep your eyes trained on yourself. Focus on your own strengths and attractiveness and power. That's literally the Emperor and the King of Wands right there. So, like I was saying in the beginning, the King of Wands may be about looking at yourself, seeing yourself through not necessarily other people's eyes, not trying to compare, but to get your truth, to see who you are, to understand who you are in relationships and period. Because I kind of get this vibe that the comparison to other people thing has to do with maybe a lot of relating, a lot of adjusting, and being something that your partner needs, but not necessarily is you. So, I'm gonna pull one more card. Why is the High Priestess coming out in the outcome? What is the High Priestess trying to tell us for Libra? The Chariot. What the fuck? So the Chariot talks about moving forward, like success, happiness. A balance is needed. I think you know that the balance is needed, and this relationship can go so far and grow so beautifully if there's a balance. So I think that's some things that you guys already know. A lot of information this time around, Libra. A lot of information. There's just a lot of stuff about balancing and kind of keeping things on the down low, or getting more information about something, about your person, about yourself. I feel like mostly about yourself. I think the situation is about knowing who you are and acting authentically, not doing something with a purpose.